Yo! What's up, world? Welcome, my unicorns. I'm Kilara Sen, comedian, MC, and actor from East Coast, Tokyo, Japan. Now working as the host and the writer of a series called Japanese Whiskey World on Decanta TV. Of course, my job is drinking whiskey, so I'm a workaholic. I have been on TV shows such as Paul Hollywood Eats Japan. Why did you become a comedian? I was asked this question countless times by Japanese and international people. Yeah, I don't think it had been separated between the Japanese and the others, but actually I feel the meanings behind this question are slightly different. In Western,
women are not funny, so...
And in Japan,
you are not so ugly. Why did you choose such a tough life, not marrying to a nice man to feed you and having a baby?
Or in some cases,
what is comedy?
Stigmas are everywhere. Yay! Yeah, I've indeed experienced a financially struggling time and been unjustly treated, especially by men, for being a comedian.
Why don't you come to my comedy show? Because I don't want to see my girlfriend being laughed at by others.
However, I never regret my path. Today, I'm going to share my story from a Godzilla lizard to pink unicorn. Why and how I became a comedian. My childhood hero. Since my childhood, I've loved making people laugh. As we have 8 million gods, Yaorozu no Kami, including the god of toilet in Japan, I personally had a god of comedy since when I was a little kid, Mr. Noritake Kinashi from a comedy duo Tonnels. Noritake Kinashi is also a successful artist having his exhibition in New York, and his duo mainly did comedy sketches but also did impersonation, acted, danced, sang, and played sports. And I later figured out they were strongly influenced by Western entertainment such as SNL, Eddie Murphy, and Soul Train of the 80s. So they should have subconsciously led me to who I am now and my current style. My life goal is still to be Noritake Kinashi of this global era.
My family.
I was given a GATE program to be a comedian. A dysfunctional family. My mom was always busy. In addition to household works, she spent so much time on yelling and sleeping. My dad ran a prep school, so we ate dinner very late, like midnight after he came home. Then the live action of Godzilla vs. Kong or Goku vs. Frieza or WWE matches were played until morning every night. Excited. Then I got my first professional job, a therapist. The first client was my mom. That was when I was 6 years old. She also kept me away from my grandparents, relatives, and friends who could be my therapist. She always came to me and she loved storytelling. I am a tragic Cinderella. Yeah, I was starving in laughter.
My first media appearance.
I was getting more serious about being a comedian and even wrote warai, literally meaning laughter, but also comedy in Japanese, for the 4th grade kakizome. I always try to make school assignments funny.
Kilara-san question. What is the strongest force on earth?
Gravity of bed.
There was my favorite radio program on Sunday night with a segment of the pun competition called Daja Ranger. Dajare meaning pun and Ranger as a Power Rangers. Its personalities announced a word in the middle of the show, then listeners phone pitched their puns in a moment. Then the top 5 will be selected to be on the show live, and the personalities chose the week's champion with a 3,000 yen prize. When I was in 5th grade, I finally made it appearing on the radio show and... Whoa! I believed all listeners should have LOL, even the wiretapping North Korean army. Yes, my next profession was a Daja Ranger, saving the world with puns.
Hikikomori and the decoration.
However, my life was still far away from pursuing entertainment dream. My parents made me focus on study to be ichiban, and I passed difficult entrance exams for elementary school, junior high school, and university. Yes, I'm an expert to enter schools, not to graduate. I enrolled in one of the Japanese elite high schools. Then the school was literally like a ruleless prison of robots. Yeah, the school didn't have any stupid school rules for students and teachers. A teacher sexually assaulted female students while I was there. Anyway, the students, they were all gifted kids and behaved very well. But some are mentally unbalanced, like strolling with delirious, anorexia, and SAD. And finally, I ended up being depressed. I spent most of my life on just studying, so I couldn't stop asking like, what did I study for? Around then, I started feeling my inside going like ash, and every time to move my body, I felt like trying to inflame the ash. Meanwhile, the college's entrance exam season was approaching, and I thought it would be my final shot to achieve where I chose to go. Then I passed one for Waseda University. But my high school's dishonesty, I needed to turn down the enrollment. To win the trial against the high school, I once again took the exam and enrolled in the same college next year. But honestly, I was totally burned out. The lizard went and stuck in the deep, deep underground. And in the end, I finally became a hikikomori. Hikikomori is a Japanese term to mean people who don't go to work, who don't go to school, who stop everything. In English, which is known as a comedian.
Black Studies.
An encounter with a picture of a Haitian kid was an omen of my evolution. Just in case, I'm not talking about WWE. It was the cover of a photo book shot in Haiti in between coup d'etats and earthquake, and the country has been called one of the poorest countries. But her big smile was stunning, like Luffy. I couldn't stop turning its pages. Although studying African American history to learn hip-hop so far, I was drawn into wider range of beauty in African diaspora. It seemed all about life. Black studies led me to know African American comedians opening a crack in the racist era, such as Sammy Davis Jr. and Richard Pryor. I really think all black entertainment had elevated their suppressed feelings to splendid art. Then my inner voice whispered, why not study it at an HBCU? I was the only Asian there. They called me light-skinned Mexican.
Big Bang!
At SS Music Festival during summer break, I was first introduced to my fiancé, Standup Comedy. The hottest singers of the time came up on the stage one after another. I was already overwhelmed. Then a guy walked in without music, Chris Rock. It was lit! Like a mature guy talking alone on the stage for 1 hour, and audience from young to old laughed out loud together, and he didn't go naked. The laughter was the loudest music of the night. Then I made up my mind to do this. Yes, that was my big bang.
Japanese style comedian.
I casually applied for comedy unit in Japan as I came back, and I got a role. We soon got to appear on Enta no Kami-sama, God of Entertainment, one of the most prestigious programs for upcoming comedians back then. Honestly, I couldn't function well and I was reprimanded every day, moral and sexual harassments included. Don't worry, it's normal in Japan. One day we had a job at the show pub, which is like a comedy club with more various types of comedians. And the leader suddenly told me to do the opening act. He thought I was underestimating comedy and should know the fear. I was forced to jump out to the stage, not knowing what to say. I had never spoken alone in an audience. I totally up. And after 30 minutes, I got a regular MC and opening act job at the show pub. The next assignment from the leader was to perform alone at the comedy show. He saw my set and said, "You had the best aura of a comedian." I came to start working as a pingeinin, meaning solo act. As my liberal spirit had been blossoming by studying in the States, I sometimes felt something not quite right in the industry as an obscure female comedian. But otherwise, I convinced myself that I was on the comedy journey anyway. And also it was true, the destiny led me to appear on one of the most popular comedy programs. But honestly, the more I worked as a Japanese-style comedian, the more I noticed the differences from American stand-up comedy.
English stand-up comedy.
One day I got to know there was a stand-up group in Tokyo and jumped in their open mic. Although I was doing both Japanese style and English stand-up comedy, one day a Japanese stand-up comic from LA suggested me to focus on English stand-up comedy. He also suggested me to get speaking jobs. Then I quit Japanese comedy and signed with an MC agency. Skills and experience in hosting and stand-up comedy always help each other. My voice became my full-time job.
New York debut.
Meanwhile, I broke up with an actor. While he was moving to LA, I wanted to go to New York. Well, honestly, I couldn't stop mixed feeling every time to see his success overseas. I decided to fly to New York to stand in a real comedy club. The streets in New York were already in a Christmas mood. Amid all this, I felt lonely, desperate, and cold. But at my first comedy club show, I killed. So I was looking great in the video too. Then I was convinced that, oh, this was the path to take. Now I really appreciate this breakup. Thanks to it, I got confidence that my jokes could work in the States, and those materials would have never been written without his sloppy dick. ありがとう.
Journey.
I made it appearing on Asia's Got Talent and Laugh Factory is the funniest person in the world, but sometimes I almost gave up. First, the language barrier. Second, there was no precedent in Japan for doing it professionally. And last, this comedy, in which I express my opinions, sometimes going too critical, didn't fit in the nature of this country. Because women don't have voice.
Kilara, you are amazing. You speak English and you look hot. You make me horny.
Thank you. So, how did you like my set? Hello? You hear me?
Oh, yes, I hear you.
Did you listen to my set? Did you listen to my set?
What were your jokes about? I don't remember.
Actually, I tell jokes to criticize the society, and I talk about feminism, and
You're a comedian and criticize the society? Ha! You are a beautiful woman, so just keep smiling. I just wanna be happy by watching your face and the body.
Thank you. That'll be the next joke.
But interestingly, Every time I feel like I am shit, I got in new adventures such as TV shows and the cruise ship. And fans from all over the world always keep sending me supporting message. I can't stop feeling as if some great force is telling me not to quit. Now I will answer the question. Killer-san question. What is the strongest force on earth?
God, up toilet!
Even during this pandemic, I could connect with buddies and mentors from all over the world via Zoom. I could learn that the world is waiting for more of women's voice and mental health comedy. I want to be a unicorn to speak up, and that Haitian girl encouraging you all. Anybody can grow better and healthy. I am sure I was born to be a comedian. My dream is of course to be super successful, and also I'd love to contribute to talented women, mental health awareness, and diversity. I am a unicorn and new woman's voice. Pink unicorn.